einmal im Jahr. Ole, ole und schalala.
Hello and welcome to Return BackBodyDrop Plus. A couple of weeks back we did a look at 16 Carat Gold 2022. My name's Ian Hamilton. I'm joined once again by Mike Kilby of Eurographs, both as well from Oberhausen. Mike, how have you survived?
All good. I think it was good to be back home. I think as we seem to christen it, a little bit quieter than normal, but I think it was it felt like back to business as usual, and very positive weekend in general.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 years since the last Carat, and I mean the obvious things have changed. The Brexit and obviously COVID. I mean, you've been to Germany since performing for this.
Yes.
And so you've been used to the, the non-EU passport lanes and all that.
Yes.
I think I tweeted and I got wrapped up in knuckles from someone who remained nameless. But yeah, if this is the new normal in terms of queuing the non-EU lane, yeah, get the earlier flights, all I'm going to say, especially if passport control in Dusseldorf start getting the habit of taking people off after 3 of the planes have landed with a lot of non-EU passengers.
And the one thing I will say is if you are going to Europe and obviously British citizen, you do need to ensure that your passport is actually stamped on entry, because mine wasn't this time, and I got a bit of a telling off, and I was like, well, it's not my fault, I didn't do it. So that is one thing I would sort of add. You do need to make sure you do get it stamped if they haven't done it.
I mean, for my return journey, I mean, obviously mine was stamped, but coming back was just a bit awkward because, I don't know, flights you used to get when you used to use Dusseldorf, but they always used to send the London flights to, it's almost like a far wing, like you had to pass passport control when you were in like a holding pen before the plane. Well, obviously now we're not in that, so it's part of the normal gates.
Yeah.
But you've still got to go through the non-EU queue to check out, for a better word. And it was a long queue, long diversion, which I think I was at the airport like 7:30 in the morning, so literally was just me there. And it's just one person at the border control. It's like all of this just for the sake of what benefits are we getting out of this? But I'm sure it will come if we wait long enough. I mean, we'll be dead if we wait long enough. But anyway, not enough about politics. This obviously first 16 Carat Gold first festival weekend really since the pandemic started, and I'm putting something on BackBodyDrop.com the next few days. Touching on a lot of this, but Oberhausen's one of those places a lot had changed, but still felt very familiar, very homely, as you touched on.
Yeah, geographically, yes, there's quite a few changes. Things that it's sort of like when you step onto when you have the films and you come through the other into the alternate universe, and it's the buildings have changed names and things. As is just the general case after 2 years, things have changed names. Businesses have closed, new businesses have opened, new favourites. But in general, I mean, it's the same old. It's not Berlin. It's not Düsseldorf. It's not Hamburg. Frankly, it's a provincial industrial town in like the heart of the Rust Belt, really. So yeah, it is very familiar. Not much had changed. There's a few things had been tarted up. The Turbinenhalle has had. Which obviously where a lot of the shows are gone. Turbinenhalle 1 at least, where we was, that's had a good fresh lick of paint.
Still got the envelope.
It's all been refurbished. The toilets are lovely now. They've paved out the front, so you're not standing in a bomb crater in the car park. But it's all been freshened up really, but yeah, not much has changed. As I say, it felt like being back in an old pair of slippers, really.
So before we got to Turbinenhalle, of course, I guess for the last time, unless plans change horribly, made that trip to Essen's Oberhausen Nord for they built the last inner circle in Essen. Of course, Wrestling Academy moving to Gelsenkirchen late for summer. And I think we spoke up, going in, 6-match cards, looked pretty decent for Inner Circle. I think more than delivered. I mean, looking at cage match, maybe being a bit harsh. I think this is giving it 5.3 out of 10, which is a bit. But again, it's Inner Circle. You're not going to get your Carat strength matches. This was. They don't like using the term warmer, but it was a good curtain race.
It's a taster menu. It's always what it's like. It's a little taste of what's to come. You very often get to see the big imports in a very, very unique situation. It's, as I say, it's the academy is quite literally a garage, and there are less than 100 people in there. I think according to this, the official number is 95 spectators. You're all stood together, which felt great. You're all stood together. And you're seeing, Fuminori Abe, for example, having his first match outside of Japan, as far as I know, in a garage. So it's like, it's perfect. It's always a bit of a mixed. It's always a bit of a mixed bag sort of show, a bit of a broken biscuits thing. You get a little. Maybe you get the odd teaser for what's to come, but then you also do get the odd person who has a match against somebody they won't have any interaction for the rest of the week with. So, but yeah, I thought it was. I wasn't sure what to expect going into it, and after the show finished, I was like, Joe, what? If I was still kind of unsure how I was going to react to the rest of the weekend, because Inner Circle's a bit of a world of its own. But after that, I thought, well, if Inner Circle is the best we have this weekend, I'm still very happy, and thankfully, amazingly, it did get better. So, really, really good show for me.
I mean, you were talking about Fuminori Abe.
Yeah.
One thing I was really impressed with, and totally caught off guard, the fact we were all able to stand. We've done a few academy shows where it was all seater. I think Tass said to us afterwards, the rules they had were they could have had standing, but if they put seating out, they had to fill the seating first, which I've been to shows which have been standing and seating. It hasn't been particularly well organised. So it was the last show. I mean, the entire weekend, everyone was wearing masks. We can touch them a bit later on, but it's the last hurrah for the academy. Absolutely great. Like old time's sake, except for all that bits of cloth in front of our faces.
Yeah, it's always a bit. It's always a bit of a raucous atmosphere. There's nowhere, well, short of possibly the cockpit, there's no venue which is as intimate as that. It felt like a fitting send off, even if there wasn't maybe the big blockbuster matches we've had in the past there. It was definitely a fitting send off.
I mean, just starting with Fresno, you mentioned about people having interactions all weekend. Obviously, when we did the preview, it was Ava Everett against Orshi. We had no idea who she was. I've had that rematch, obviously, the Wheel of Wrestling show we'll talk about later on. The big thread coming through from this, the 4-on-4 elimination match, the HCW Dojo against the WXW Academy, where if you haven't been watching all the WXW shows, even me and I have, maybe not quite getting that hint of Robert Dreisker being really annoyed, shall we say? Maybe if it's just cause, but really in this 4-on-4 elimination, you got that. He got eliminated. Not early, but he wasn't last man standing. And just throughout, he was not on the same page, particularly with Oscar. Scream here if you want. But yeah, that was really the thing. Which on that Thursday night was like, we're carrying on the the argument they had in Bielefeld, and by the end of the weekend, it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, of course. But as I said, it is always sort of the tasting menu. You kind of get a little bit of a flavour of who's popular, because as much as you can watch on the VODs, the weekenders are sort of an island amongst themselves, really, in terms of fan reaction. Because the fan reaction I know, for example, back in the Shotgun days, the fan reaction in Frankfurt, which in my opinion was the worst crowd of all of them, was always completely different to the fan reaction in Hamburg and Oberhausen and elsewhere. So it's a good taster of who's popular, and it's I think as much as you can watch the VODs and you can watch like the shows in Bielefeld. I think I still feel like I understand the match, the angles better when I see them in person. And as I say, I think when Dreisker starts doing the things he does over the weekend, that is when it was a lot clearer than it has been maybe over VOD.
Sure. Well, move to the Turbinenhalle. So you said it had liquor paint, yet still has graffiti in the toilets. Go figure.
It's all clean as far as I saw.
All of them I used had graffiti, but no, wasn't as bad as the old days, obviously. But we said night one 730, which is about 20 short of capacity, which, considering everything that's been going on, that's got to be a massive win for them. Just run through, obviously, we had the alternate five-way, Hector Invictus winning over Oscar, Norman Harris rotation, and Ninja Mac. Ninja Mac was a late addition for all this. I think it was the Thursday, just for the circle, he announced he was part of the five-way, had a big scare for flight. I think it was United, some issue. Ended up making it, ended up being a lot bigger part of the weekend than I would expect it coming in. But yeah, if they haven't put this match out on demand yet, I'd expect they will, because for the first time in a few years, they actually needed the alternate.
Yes.
And I guess maybe that's something we can probably touch on before this, obviously, well before the tournament started. Francesco Chiu dropped out, needing knee surgery. Lufisto replaced him. Biff Busick dropped out literally as I was about to board my plane on Wednesday. Submission.
So our preview was out of date before we even got to Carat.
Yeah,
that's
well,
the case.
Hey, that's the tradition, yeah. So Ray brought in Marius Solani, who I think Tastrol's was about 30 people they were looking at. Marius got the nod, and then Ninja Mac, I guess with whatever budget was left, got the floating card for the weekend. Yeah, I mean, it's a five-way. I need to watch it back, but not perfectly fine. It established Hector. Obviously, he's been starting his Bing battle pairing with Dennis Dolnig. It's been played out a lot over the weekend. But yeah, going into Carat night one, just going to rattle through the results and can pick up. Robert Dreisker eliminating Fuminori Abe. Karen Noir beat Vincent Heisenberg. Peach Tahani and Igor Blanc. Tahani won through.
That was a great match, that was.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is both Tahani and Igor Blanc, they were guys who completely established during the close set days. And for both of them to get that standing ovation at the end. I mean, that match, being cynical, could have gone one of two ways. Could have been it's the two guys who got booked in the close set days but never got a sniff before. No, I think both these guys, I think especially Peter Tahani, they are both definitely here to stay as part of the roster. And I think I tweeted up before the final night. It's only match time before he gets that shotgun belt, just for way to actually use it.
Yeah, for sure.
Going down further on as well, Lufisto over Dennis Dolnig, Marius Alani over Michael Knight, Maggot eliminating Ace Romero, Shikihiro Irie eliminated Sense of Alto, and the night one main event. And I think a lot of people wouldn't complain if this was the tournament final. Jonathan Gresham eliminating Bobby Guns in, I guess, was a bit of a shock for the Turbinenhalle crowd.
Yeah, and obviously later events will reveal why, but it was a shock because I think there was a lot of people who were kind of expecting Gresham to sort of do things with do things around the tournament, as you always have somebody big hanging around doing other things in the tournament. Over the weekend, you usually have, in a way, like how Matt Riddle did one year. He was sort of floating around sort of the other matches on the card because he got eliminated on night 2, sort of thing. So there's it was a surprise. It was a really good match though. think Guns. I think I don't need to be sold on him, but I think a lot of people maybe do. I think he's kind of proved a lot of maybe the hype. The hype I think people said was maybe unfair for a long while. I think he's rising to that level now. The 2 years in the closed set era, he's established himself. He's obviously been watching his tapes a lot in lockdown, maybe more than he ever was, and he's technically there's never been I don't think there was ever a point where he looked out of his depth this weekend.
No.
And I think for all of his for sort of for the big push he had sort of in 2018, 2019, I think there's some people who do think he was rushed there. And now I don't think that's the case. He's definitely amongst the top 5 workers in the company and I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Whereas I think previously that 3 years ago, I think possibly people would have maybe erred on that.
And what I would say about Bobby Ming, obviously he was the champion going into the pandemic. He lost it, but one thing I was always, and you always get this in WXW in most European promotions, you have a guy who has to run up to the top and becomes champion. When they lose the belt, there's always that massive question mark, and we've had that run for a while where they've lost the belt, they've been signed, they've gone elsewhere. Obviously, with stuff that's going on, there's no signings for NXT UK, or very few these days. But WXW's managed to find a way to keep using Bobby Guns without him being almost like a spare part. Like you'll have some guys who've been former champions, they hang around, there's clearly nothing for them to do.
I think, for example, for after he lost it the first time, I think Jörn was kind of a little bit like that. When he lost it in 28, sort of after the Rise thing, he kind of didn't. Well, he did get injured as well, unfortunately, but Jörn was sort of somebody who maybe disappeared for a long while, and Guns kind of he got beaten for the belt, but he's like, right, well, back in the saddle, he's established himself again, and it wouldn't surprise me if towards the end of the year he is sort of battling for that belt again. But I think especially in the context of the wider weekend, I don't think there's any sort of shame to be had in losing first round to Gresham at all.
No, absolutely not. Again, we can pick up on plans that may have been, but it's night one, this was Saturday. Just go with the showcase show. This hasn't dropped on demand. It probably will by the time this gets uploaded. Smash put forward Psycho Mike against Von Vertigo. We can touch a bit more on Psycho Mike on the Wheel of Wrestling. Very unlikely star of a weekend, I'd say, just because of his stick. But again, I think that's proof that a really good character will probably almost always trump someone who is bland but really good in the ring, I guess it's fair to say.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Very popular. I say we don't want to go too mad about it because it's not dropped yet.
Well, yeah. Plus, so again, we're giving out spoilers. But Academy Trophy, Oscar unseated Golden Boy Santos. I haven't got much times here, but I mean Santos had held that title since it won just before the pandemic started. So unfortunate timing. November came out. I think that was his first defence of it as well. Unfortunately, so. New Academy champion Oscar, inserted scream here, plenty of people did, and we can touch on the Wheel of Wrestling show late, but by that show that dropped the Sunday afternoon one, I think the fans were starting to break Andy Jackson on commentary. It wasn't even everyone yelling at the same time, it was, I guess one of them was you, just the odd person yelling completely out of sync, they're not good for the end. That is going to make people crack, I'll tell you now.
Yeah, it's with regards, to Oscar. It's the end. It does seem a bit mean spirited to sort of shout when it does go quiet, but I think you can't avoid it when you see something cool like that.
Okay, we can touch on that, but just even on demand, it's funny live, but when you see it on demand and you just see your people and others joining in, it's got a chance of catching on. Next up, the Bodyzoid tag title match. Apparently it's the first time these belts had been defended, or first time we'd even had the tag belts. Rivality, that's MBM and Ultima Sombra beat Les Enfants Terribles, George Balzac and Gustave Lebrun. So Rivality had worked things a hardcore TLC match for Wrestling Cold a couple of hours earlier.
The show finished as that show finished whilst this showcase show began.
So a pretty quick
literally less than an hour, I think.
There's a pretty quick hop over the car park to get here.
Yeah.
But they won the Wrestling Cult tag titles on that show. Brought them to the ring with them to the point where I was genuinely confused. Like, are these the vacant tag titles? Are we defending them? MBM and Ultima Sombra won the titles, and just looking at their cage match, their carry-on case is getting pretty full. Obviously won the Cult titles and the BackBodyDrop tag titles. They've since won the APC tag titles in France, and at least the cage match has been updated. They've held the Catch as Catch Can elsewhere in France for coming up to 3 years now, July 2019, and the Heritage Catch Pro titles since August of last year. So a lot of French, Belgian, and German tag titles. So I guess they're the in thing. I mean, the match was fine. Obviously, I need to watch back. I mean, there's over 50 matches this weekend, so you're not going to remember every single detail, but it was a tag match, perfectly fine. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to
that. No, not really. I think it's the show in general was just the in terms of the WCW Now friends. I think there was people who maybe had more build up than perhaps some of the other promotions.
Yeah.
But, I'll maybe let you go into that, but I think the match that I enjoyed most from this show was probably the APC freeway match.
Yep,
the match, and also the Hungarian tag was great as well.
Do we want to touch on the Hungarian lads, or do you want to save that for the end? Because I think this was a weekend. I don't know how much was tongue in cheek. Mentioned about how the Hungarian scene is what we thought the Irish scene was, but
I was doing that to get some nibbles, as you know me so very well.
I think by Southern Ireland.
This is just a as good time to say about it than any other, really. So obviously part of the weekend is basically the backbone of the Hungarian wrestling scene effectively descended on Oberhausen en masse, basically for about a month or so, from what I understand. And it was something crazy, like 40 odd people from the various promotions had gone, wasn't it? It wasn't photograph. It was
I don't know the full, but I remember from Sikra Sadova said it was like 26 Hungarian wrestlers on a plane, and also had like the camera crew, and maybe it was fluent because they did have a.
I saw in the credits there were like Hungarian people in there as well.
I know it wasn't taped, but I know last Thursday they did an academy show.
Yeah,
the WXW Academy versus the Hungarian Championship Wrestling Academy. So they said it was 26 there for Carat. It would not surprise me if that number rose afterwards. But the fact that you've got from an entire country that many people, flocking, to there, and not all of them got booked. So the fact that you have them there just to watch, obviously as wrestlers, it's an encouraging sign and a healthy sign as well, I would say.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, every one of these. So the backbone of the scene, as far as I can tell, I'm not going to profess to be an expert. I have friends who probably are bigger experts on this, but the backbone of the scene is effectively the areas of Hungary who, I think, if you're into European wrestling, you know them. I think at this point, by far the most complete and accomplished and just probably the best tag team in Europe at this point. Wrestled a lot in the UK as well, but at least in continental Europe, there's nobody better at all. Through Hungarian Championship Wrestling and Passion Pro, I believe, you have two very, very good promotions out of Hungary, but also two very, very good schools. And I think the Arrows are teaching them the right way, in the same way that the whole point of the WXW Academy was they were being taught the right way. And they've produced some incredibly gifted wrestlers. You have the Gulias brothers. Gulias Jr. has obviously been working WXW for a lot of the pandemic anyway, but he's I don't know whether it's a shoot or a kayfabe brother, but them as a pairing was like a two bulldog style pitbull tag teams. You know, they're two just a really hard hitting tag team. You had Maverick, who back in Hungary I think is actually one of the top guys on some. I think he did hold the HCW title from what I understand. So he's sort of on the top thing, and you can see a bit of Ilya in him. And you have obviously Peter Tihany, who's been working in Germany for a long while. To be fair, he's been working in Berlin a lot, but he's sort of headed over to WXW during the pandemic, and one of the best juniors I've seen in Europe for a long time. It's just that's not everybody who's gone over, and just from top to bottom, professionals. They have great looks. They have interesting gimmicks. They work 100 miles an hour. Their gear looks good, which you know they can talk well. They show intensity in the right places. It's a healthy scene and everybody sticks together, and I really excited to see what the next 2 years, if they're that good now, and that's amidst a pandemic and how desolated the rest of Europe has been through outside influences in the business. I'm fascinated to see how good they are going to be in 2 years' time, when they've got 2 years of running in front of big crowds in Germany and hopefully the UK.
I mean, all we can do is push for some promoters, Andy. But I mean, we look at these guys. I mean, you've called out a lot of them, and I don't like naming names to that extent because I always feel bad of, what about this person? But you look at an entire scene which, if you've been paying attention, I know HCW have had a load of taped shows online. But
yeah, HCW has been around for a long while. To be fair, and I've sort of watched them occasionally in the past, because I remember they always seem to run big houses, and they would often have a lot of sort of the big British guys over there. But as I say, Passion Pro. Sorry, you was about to jump into that. I assume, but Passion Pro sort of are running more the bespoke. Passion Pro feels a bit more like old WXW. Maybe more than. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with HCW in the way they present the product, but HCW seems to be more of the general and wider. It's more appealing, I think, to a wider audience than probably Passion Pro is. Not to say that that's a bad thing at all.
And again, going for HCW, I scroll through Cage Match and I see them come up all the time. Like, we've got this HCW Underground series with tapes and runs all the time, but look for names. I mean, you talk about Berlin, like Benchy, who was a pretty big thing in GWF for a while. You've got, we touched on it earlier, but Urchi. I've looked at very few matches in, but a lot more. I'd say is composed with pretty much anyone across that entire weekend, which speaks volumes, like we say, for training. You like Maverick, who did GWF before, at least be Who's Next, Tamashabo,
Kolaski, Eva Kolaski's been the champion for God knows how long. So
and those were just the guys who they booked. Like I say, assuming knock on wood, we don't have COVID-2, electric boogaloo, whatever you come up, and we all go back into lockdown, or WWE decides, well, actually, we do care about the European scene. We want to strangle you guys even more, or what have you. Yeah, I think the Hungarian scene, if we come around to some of 2024, that has got a very good shout of being the next hotbed, assuming there's no outside forces comes in and wipes stuff. But worth keeping an eye on it. I mean, the fact that Hungarian Championship Wrestling, they have all they put all the underground shows online. Passion Pro shows online. again, coming off a weekend, I saw a few tweets, guys from Germany planning on travelling to Passion Pro shows, as fans, and I think Stickers, looking to coordinate. That's the kind of thing you want in wrestling. Not you guys, you're coming to our company, you're watching. I mean, you want to embrace fans from all over the place. Who cares if they're travelling from another country? As long as they're being obviously respectful and all that.
Yeah.
But the fact that this weekend, I almost feel bad in the sense that we had this is the next we spend a lot of time talking about Hungarian lads, but they put themselves forward. They showed up and showed out, as I've said. And in fact, we've got a lot of people think WXW was really good. They're almost steady, and we know they're reliable. But we've also got these guys over here who are going to be the next best thing. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to be keeping an eye out on anything from the Hungarian scene. Passion Pro is keeping an eye on. I know they are booking a few guys from WXW and a few from the UK as well. Yeah, where they go, I think it's going to be really interesting for the next 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, for sure, and the thing with WXW is I've always felt it's a promotion that it puts the industry to the front of its sort of thinking, in the sense of 4 years ago they had Wrestling Deutschland 1, and they didn't need to do that show. Where they, for example, they said, every promotion in Germany has been invited, and you can put on a match, and providing it's you've got 15 minutes, you can put a match on. And they didn't need to do that, but they do it for the betterment of the industry, because rising waters raises all ships, in the sense of that sort of sense. So, I honestly believe that us talking about how good Hungarian wrestling is on a WXW podcast isn't an insult to them at all, because it's exactly what they've always been standing for. They're not there to put people out of business like other things are.
It's not a closed shop. I mean,
it's always been a positive place. Yeah.
And again, last one, at least for now, about all this. I mean, you've got the WXW Academy. There's only so much one training school can put out.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody like Norman Harras or Oscar, for example, an Oscar going to work in Hungary. It's a new experience, and it changes. The crowd changes wildly between cities in Germany. Like, the crowd in Hungary is completely different to the crowd in Germany, and it's only going to be good for someone like Oscar.
It's the way wrestling's meant to be, if you're building yourself up.
Yeah, for sure.
Finish off the showcase show. Touched on Emeritus over Carlos Zamora. I think which was Alice in King Callis meant to be on there. I'm not sure what happened with the card change. And main event the other title match of my show. Charles Crowley defeated Big Guns Joe to retain the King of the Carnival, Wrestle Carnival title. And yeah, I mean, we touched on about how some had a big build-up. I think Crowley, to his credit, and Wrestle Carnival, made this match feel like the main event spot they got. Not too sure about the whole, Crowley being the baddie, yet he's got the big over-the-top entrance. I felt confused with the crowd a little bit. We've got the big, flashy, even translated to German to the point where they literally found a word for twat that wasn't vagina, which fit. But even then, you've got him there, and he's meant to be irritating sod that you're meant to boo. That didn't quite filter through, but I mean, again, I know that's his act, that's his shtick, but to me, if you're there to be booed and that's the presentation you have, it's not going to click all the way through, I don't feel.
When Brit Wrestling are sending their men, they're not sending their best, I think is.
Well, that's
it was incredibly confusing. So it was a great advertisement for how British wrestling is these days. I think to be fair to them, Crowley was very incredibly popular with the German crowds, and the general vibe I get from the German fans I follow is that he was very, very popular. People calling for him to be back at Carat next year, which I don't know if that's something, but I don't know if there's something to that. But yeah, that it was popular for people, but that's exactly the point. These showcase events are a variety performance. They're not. There's going to be something for everybody, and even if we don't like it, it's meant to show what different things there are around in Europe. And Wrestle Carnival obviously is not really my sort of thing in general, but it's an incredibly it's a very popular promotion in Germany. There's lots of people I know who quite like it. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's just the way it is. So yeah. I think it was the build-up was fitting of the main event, but I don't really think the match or really anything beyond that was.
Yeah. I guess you can probably touch on, or you kind of did, compared to previous years, not much of a British presence. Obviously, we had Cowan one in Carat, Crowley and Big Guns Joe, actually, showcase show. I think outside of it, I don't think there's much for.
Who is there now?
I don't think there was that much presence, but yeah, like say, our scene has been decimated for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, there's beyond probably Michael Oku. What star is there in Britain now? And politically, I don't think there's a political reason, but it's beyond Michael Oku. Who is there in Britain?
Especially on the weekend, because there was obviously a lot of shows going on back home. But
yeah, exactly. So
speaking of stuff,
I don't come to Germany to watch British wrestlers usually.
Speaking of stuff that may not be everyone's cup of tea, Ambition came back. The Shield style tournament, and we did the same thing. 8-man elimination tournament plus a next generation fight and super fight, which card subject to change. Biff Busick, obviously we said, dropped out. Maurice Lani was meant to replace him. He injured his shoulder on the Friday night, so as we get to cause problems later on. So Jonathan Gresham subbed in against Fast Time Mudo. Yeah, I mean, I guess for one thing everyone's talking about from this show, that goddamned headbutt.
Yeah, it was. I think a lot of people. There's usually an Ambition match which sort of creeps into most people's top match of the weekend, and I think the semi between Irie and Abe is definitely the one that's creeped into a lot of people's top 3 matches anyway. It was sickening. It was very, very reminiscent of the Ikeda Ishikawa Superfight from 20. But yeah, all in all, it was a bit of a patchwork Ambition tournament. I think there's people who you would have probably liked to have been in there in normal circumstances who weren't. But all in all, I think again a very good show. I think there were maybe people who maybe questioned the winner. Are we to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, show's dropped. Yeah, Bobby Guns.
Yeah, so Bobby Guns wins over Abe in the final, and again, there was the odd question, but I think the last 2-3 years he's proven his wrestling chops, and I think maybe over Abe is. I don't know whether that was a bridge too far, but even so, I think I think it was a very, very good tournament. It's actually one of the Ambition shows tournaments I've enjoyed quite a lot. It's not always my favourite thing, but I did really enjoy this one.
And I think, and again, the whole weekend was all seated apart from the circle. I know one of the big draws of Ambition is you're able to get up to ringside if you want to do so. Yeah, I mean, I think with this one, I enjoyed it. Because obviously, it's Tim, you say, hills, no peaks and valleys. You're always going to get those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, Guns over Abe in the final, I'm not complaining. I think for Tamasidou, it's a consolation prize for going out in the first round. It's probably a bit harsh phrasing it like that, but
yeah,
it absolutely was not a bad show. I mean, I'm looking at Cage Match. You got
quite good ratings.
Yeah, 2 people giving it 8 and 1 giving it 3. I would guess the person giving it 3 maybe doesn't like the style, which, again, each to their own. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, people just can remember that headbutt by virtue of the fact that WXW put it up as a 5-second clip on YouTube, so that's going to be in there for all perpetuity. But think we've won as well. Irie over under Cara. I think one thing that stood out, just tasked trying to get them off Ender because I guess the whole stoppage thing didn't get communicated well. But yeah, pretty solid ambition, and we're not doing one in October. And may as well bring this up now. World Tag Team Festival's back, Mike.
Way! The best tournament. It's always been the best one.
Now, would you prefer elimination of a round robin format?
Yeah, sorry, do I prefer which one do I prefer?
The round robin or the elimination?
I prefer the round robin tournament myself, but Tag Team Festival suggests to me it might be going back to the elimination one. But I don't know. Judging by how cursed Tag Team Festival was in 2019, God, that was a few years ago. I don't know whether they will go to that. I think they might go back to the round robin.
Well, see, I think tickets back on sale in May, and literally they've announced it's over it's Reunion Day bank holiday weekend, which is
so it's Saturday to Monday.
Which is, for those of us booking time off work, really, you could probably get away from 1-2 days as opposed to the rest, but nothing yet being announced whether doing an inner circle. By then, they should be in Gelsenkirchen, but say tickets go on sale in May. It's like I say, if I can get there, I'll be going there. We can touch on this after the Night 2 one, but it's not like WXW's hurting the tag teams these days, especially when you look at the Hungarian lads and others they can bring in.
Yeah, if you get the arrows in there, you get a few of the other people. Yeah, plenty of teams that are up for grabs, right?
So may as well move on to the Night 2 show. Sold out 750 fans. Again, the fact that you're in the middle of a pandemic, the fact that you're selling out, even if it is a half full Turbinenhalle's great. The two matinee shows we talked about there, about 340, 350, which half of your reduced crowd, still pretty damn good. But Night 2 show for two halves, and I mean that and how they've structured it. So you had the quarterfinals in the first half, Irie over Hector, who, as we said, subbed for Marisol Alani.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time since I wrote this down, because I looked this up and I know Emil Satoshi has come in as an alternate for 3 years, which I think that's the record. But in terms of Satoshi was the last alternate to be used in 2018. So that pre-show 5-way wasn't just to make the numbers, folks. They do actually use the alternate when we need to. So Irie knocked out Hector. We have the whole thing of Dennis Dolnig trying to G him up and then get thrown up. Actually, let's bring this up from Night 1. The promo, Dolnig, obviously he's the annoying best friend. He thinks of Hector. He thought Hector qualified for Carat, but why is he not in? Then there's the promo, which my German it's enough to get by, but the finer details and need subtitles. And the promo with Hector and Dolnig on Night 1, Hector said, "It's a very long ramp. You might fall from break your leg, or you might walk down the ramp and a light falls up and hits you, and that's what I'm there for. Break a leg, Dennis." And just how pathetic it was, and obviously it wasn't broken leg, it was a shoulder injury, but just the timing of it all was a bit... But yeah, so Hector came in, wasn't blasted with him that night. Jonathan Gresham eliminating Peter Tihani in 7 minutes. Pretty good match, I thought, for disparity for what it was. Lufisto eliminating Maggot, and Robert Dreisker over Kawanoa. This where the really big trigger was pulled with Dreisker. He had Anil Merrick with him at ringside. This where the real bullying started in terms of ordering him around, ordering for back, nearly getting counted out because of it. I think now, if you haven't read or haven't gone by now, Dreisker's now full-blown baddie. It goes further on final night, but the lovable coach, no more.
No. He's a very harsh but fair, I think, is the way he goes.
We saw this on the empty set shows. It was very early on in the Shotgun 2020 shows where he was being a little bit more aggressive, with guys, with the flippy doos and what have you. That kind of got toned down. So that was, in hindsight, that was definitely something they were workshopping for when we come back with fans. And it works. We know him as being coached. It's not just, So insert name here. We're now going to say you're a trainer for the academy. Yeah, you do 1 day a week, but that's going to be your whole game. No, it's been established. Real Alfred Dreisker is a full-time employee. He's the head coach of the academy, so it's not something that's just been, hey, you're now a head coach. Yeah, go for it. Who cares? A week or you were this. It's been fully established. It's fans have cottoned on, and now he's harsh but fair. And the only thing I would say is it's that whole thing we always used to say with heels, baddies back in the day. The best ones are always the ones where they have a justification for their actions. And the best ones when you believe and maybe even agree with those justifications.
Yes, of course, yeah.
So, go for quarterfinals, then second half, this be Rotten Flot tag title contender. Shanda, Rotten Flot, number one tag. Take 3. Rotten Flot tag team number one contention gauntlet match. Yeah, I'm just shout Shanda at me, Michael. It's
Shanda.
Get the town cry bells, but this, I'm looking at a cage match. They're saying 31 minutes. I absolutely did not feel like it, but
it felt like that 15.
Yeah,
10 minutes at most,
But when you think so, the gimmick of this wasn't quite the random tag team thing we had with the. I need to look this up, so apologies for typing. But when Absolute Andy and Jay Skillett.
Yes, well, that was more of a lottery, wasn't it?
Well, it's a randomised app. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get. They have this wacky name for it, all the fancy graphics. It was actually on night 2, if I remember right. It was the
JFK lottery tournament thing. Yeah. Anyway,
so
it wasn't quite so.
The JA Tag Team Expert and Wildcard Gauntlet match. There's the name had the wacky, carrot logo with Absolute Andy sunglass, whatever. Yeah. So this was established tag teams, as opposed to the random cluster, whatever. It worked pretty well. You start off with Rotten Flot. I think it was the first team they had. I'm just pulling up the match order since Cage Match doesn't. First tag team was against Norman Harris and Sebastian Suave, keeping the thread going from in a circle. That moved to Dennis Dolnick and Hector, which, if you like a comedy, Dolnick had signed him and Hector up and had to bait Hector out of his boot and his flag, which... I'll say this now, in terms of entertaining wrestling, I think Dennis Dolnick's probably one of my favourite wrestlers on my WWE roster these days.
Yeah, the whole straight man and funny man thing.
Yeah. It's not being played 4 laps. It's not done. Oh, haha! Dennis Dolnick, isn't he wacky? Oh, he like you would in some other promotions, such as Hammer. The fact it's being played, it's like you kind of feel for Hector. He's having to put up with this. I think we've said entertaining idiot in the past.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit like old Mad Kurt and Dan McGee, to borrow a dynamic. It's kind of the same sort of thing.
Oh God, imagine Dan McGee for
flag. Yeah.
Have that one. Dolnick and Hector eliminated Rotten Flot. Next team, Baby Alson Heisenberg, pretty quick. Heisenberg choked him out and got disqualified. Sense of Ultra Weigo Blanc. Rotten Flot came out disqualified. Dolnick and Hector, so I'd expect that's going to be something they do in the immediate future.
Yeah.
And then the last two, Michael Knight and Bobby Guns, they win the entire gauntlet and get a tag title match on Wheel of Wrestling 28 for next lunchtime. But yeah, cage match had this down at half an hour. Absolutely flew by. I've seen matches which I've not thought were a lot longer than they actually were. So something like this just shows you, keep it fresh, the crowd keeps invested.
For sure, yeah.
Then the second half of the show, all title matches. So the Shotgun title was vacated. Absolute Andy was unwell. So they did the double lottery. Ninja Mac over Ace Romero. Any thoughts?
Well, it was a bit of a surprise to have 2 imports, but then, it kind of then you go, well, neither of these are sticking around, so you knew that one of them was going to lose it on the Sunday. So it was as good as it was kind of a bit of a throwback to the old what the shotgun title used to be like when Angelico had it for a month and things like that. So it was a nice throwback. Don't really have much to say about the match, to be honest, but the whole concept of having two imports fight for it was quite exciting.
World Tag Title, Fast Time Noodle, Stephanie Mays regained the belts of the Hours of Hungary.
We thought this was going to happen, didn't we? I think in the preview. It was, I don't necessarily know if it was the right decision, but it was the sort of rice pudding-esque, it was the rice pudding ending, I think, that a lot of people wanted for this.
Yeah.
It was a good moment for Carat and its historic thing, a really, really popular team.
I think the only thing maybe hurt, obviously both teams were goodies, so you're not going to get, it was a little tricky, but again, you could tell the moment they wanted. Mudo and Mays won the tag titles in the MT Arena shows. Didn't even get to defend them before they had to vacate, so this was almost their big coronation. House of Hungary looked really strong, and I'd say both these teams you'd expect would be in the World Tag Team Festival. So if the Owls get their crowning moment, you'd expect that's where it's going to be. Women's title match, and talking about imports winning, Ava Everett beating Eva Kolaski. Now I know Ava's still going to be around with the WXW for a while, so I was kind of expecting the title change just on that, but at the same time, still very surprised if they actually pulled the trigger on this one.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. It was a bit of a shock for me. I think Ava is over here, sort of semi-long term, I guess. I wasn't aware that she was going to be sticking around, so the fact that she did actually get the title was a very big shock for me.
There's that. She did a lot of matches, obviously, with WXW in Europe, but there's one spot in this match I think I shrieked at live. That leaping cush off the top. I thought she landed on her head.
That was
I'm still not convinced she didn't.
Yeah, that was quite a spicy move.
And then big time main event, Unified World Wrestling title, Vaniel, Tristan Archer, Jörn Simmons, Axel Tischer. They all got the big main event, there's a WrestleMania level intros. Archer had the Guard of Honor. Jörn had his old cold steam cannons. Sylvaniel had a load of heart-shaped balloons. Tischer had his theme song sung. I think really missed the two big takeaway points. One, obviously, Tristan Archer left for the title, but the other one, I think, and they kind of telegraphed this going in, the fact that you had Levaniel, who 2 years ago, and we said this at the time,
he was a comedy guy.
He was a comedy guy, walking and talking as DJ Hyde got pinned, in the JAA blah 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 tag gauntlet.
Yes.
And you had the crowd biting on his near falls. That's yes, he was doing the empty arena shows. He also missed a taping because he had an injury. But the fact that you've turned the guy around from comedy guy who talks about Lieber and has his own talk show to the crowd genuinely believing he was going to leave Carat with the title on the biggest night of WXW's calendar. That's a hell of a turnaround.
Yeah, and I think it's so. I think a lot of people had they kind of saw this. They saw this match coming into the weekend. I think especially when it was announced, and people kind of went, "God, that territory's gone downhill," because unfortunately, with the great respect, that main event wasn't really selling anybody on it. It wasn't like the the main event matches of the past. But I think everybody came out of that smelling like roses, and I say it's the commitment to people who have stuck around through the closed arena era is proven, and it shows that say someone like Levaniel, let's face it, he's only really been working in front of crowds for probably, when you add it all up, probably about a year. Let's face it, when we consider when he sort of started coming into the main roster before the pandemic, probably you're looking at a year and a half in front of crowds at most. But he completely held his own. Likewise, Tristan Archer, not I wouldn't say he's necessarily the most interesting of wrestlers at all, but I feel that he's good, and he's a good person to it was every champion that comes out of this weekend is a fresh start, and I think they've needed it, and this is the right time to do it.
Yep. I mean, again, Tristan Archie, if you want to go through storyline arcs, his debut in WXW, and just scrolling through this now, he debuted on those empty set tapings. Ironically, made a brief a couple of NXT UK enhancement matches. We debuted on those empty set tapings. Shortcut for top 2 years ago, lost to Bobby Guns. Went to Catch Grand Prix. Came pretty close, but didn't make the finals in the end. I think his was the final day eliminator with Mario Solani, if I remember right. When it went through to the finals, he had that early loss to Heisenberg in the first match. Did the big recovery job, but didn't quite make. So
no.
if you want to just look at his run, he's had the run where he had a title match lost, got so close lost, and obviously you get the whole bitterness side. Like I said, the best heels are the ones you understand and kind of agree with. Maybe not the glamorous choice, but let's be honest here. You've got a guy who I don't know if this was their plan when they debuted him. Shortcut for top, but 16 Carat Gold 2022. He's getting a belt, but you look on paper, it's being booked well.
Yeah, for sure. But that's the thing. There's a objectively, I don't think there's that many people who cheer for Tristan Archer. So when you do put but he is a beatable champion. I would argue. So if you do put somebody very, very popular over him, it's going to be a very joyous occasion, I think. And I think it's a very, very smart. I think it's a smart piece of booking, really. I say he was pretty low. I actually think he probably was my least expected person to walk out that match with the title. So completely threw me when he got that win.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting Jörn to get it back and move on to the Sunday. This show dropped on demand yesterday's recording, this Wheel of Wrestling 28. Tristan Archer straight away in action again, defending against Fuminori Abe. Again, I think that's a pretty decent match, again for what it was, but I think at that point of the weekend, I don't think many people were buying Abe winning, at least for because you were going to have a quick title change that evening unless he was staying in Germany. In fact, he was booked in Japan a week later, kind of told you that may not be the case.
I think I didn't think he was sticking around.
So on top of that, just a quick run through. So the Gullis Brothers debuted on WXW proper, which maybe they're going to be part of the World Tag League. Hope so.
That'd be lovely.
Oh, I absolutely would not complain about that at all. Unfortunately, went down to Jörn and Laniel, both of them back on the same page, and I guess they're going to be a tag team for a little while. Ava Everett beat Orshi again, this time 5 minutes in, this time needed to cheat for ropes, which a bit of progression there. Trios tag had a promo beforehand, so it was Baby Allison, Maggot, Vincent Heisenberg against another combination from the Academy of Faze Aguilar, Oscar and Rotation. You had...
That match was really good.
Yes, 6 minutes.
It was a really, really thing, but that was really, really good, that match. I think Allison probably good times. Allison has basically my vote as the most improved wrestler of the past 2 years in Europe. She's incredible now. To quote somebody from another podcast who nameless, back at Carat 2020, she was described as someone who wrestles as if she's wrestling underwater, and now she's just very good. She dodges like moves in an innovative way. She's got some very innovative holds. The look has been refined and is excellent now. The pairing with Maggot and Heisenberg to an extent as well is is genius. It's just one of the most biggest improvements, I think, of anybody in Europe, possibly even in the world. Genuinely, I can't think of anybody who's improved as much as her.
And again, we keep talking about the empty set here. She wasn't one who had that many matches during Rolls. Like she was obviously around the way.
But I think she's someone who's definitely benefited from the removal of basically the introduction of the intergender matches. Yeah. There was a match I think she had early on against, I want to say it was against Alpha Kevin or something like that. It was one of the I think it was one of the first matches that was sort of intergender in WXW, and it was very good. Actually, it might have been Norman Harris. Actually, I can't remember. It was very good, and I don't know. It's just I think it's not unfair to say that there isn't that many women wrestlers who can operate at a WXW level in Europe. There's always been a limit to that, and that was when we had. And that includes back when we had Tony and Kelly and Melanie. We had all these great wrestlers, but they kind of only could wrestle each other. Yep. And the fact that they can now wrestle the guys as well, the improvement can be seen tenfold in someone like Baby Allison.
Yeah, and again, they still have women's title floating around. And I remember if we start the Shocking 2020 stuff, the whole thing of she had a big problem of. I've never been treated with respect. I've never had my shot. Well, Amal's not here, but I can't get my shot, so I'm going to have to, And here we are, 2 years later, and just for massive strides that's being made. And it's not she's the best of the bad bunch. No, she's genuinely good.
Genuinely good. I think if you put her over and if you put her on a show in the UK, she would be. Well, if you put her in the UK scene nowadays, she would be one of the top 5 wrestlers. Well, one of the top 5 women wrestlers of any in the country for sure.
Andy, get on it.
Yeah.
Next, this one got cut off the on-demand, so I can't say too much. My memory's not what it was. Golden Boy Santos beat James Runyon. Had another shotgun title match. Ninja Mac defending against Tamashabo, making his main roster debut. Still that the Obsession-ish theme music, which I can only assume is production of because it didn't get dubbed over.
Yeah, must have been a production issue.
Someone find it. So that'll be on Silent Themes in a few weeks. They did a wildcard 8-man tag. Main theme of this was they pulled partners out at random. So you had Nikita Charisma and Mikhail Schenkenberg on opposite teams for the comedy. Dennis Stolnig was with Charisma, Lawrence Roman and Sebastian Suave. Schenk's team was him, Norman Harris, Psycho Mike and Vaughn Vertigo. 14 minutes in is I don't want to say holiday camp style show, but match, but just in terms of the entertainment, match of the night for me.
Yeah, of that show, yeah. I think, to be honest, in general, that was just the Sunday morning show was just very, very good. I think it was one of the best. It's the best Sunday morning show we've ever had for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we had we mentioned about Psycho Mike earlier, but his whole gimmick. You could guess by the name, but his big spot, as you were, or one body slam, which keeps stuff simple, it gets over.
Keep it simple, stupid.
I've heard others make for comparison. He's been to one session of the WWE Performance Center, and that's it, because he loves staring at that hard cam.
Yeah, he knows how to work the hard cam. Yeah.
And Oberhausen ate it up, so I mean, keep it simple. They love it. Why do more?
No, for sure. He's very. I'm trying to think of who was the. Because is that the first time he's been over here? Because I could have sworn we've seen
in Germany. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's over for Carat 2. Well, for Carat 2 years ago.
But he wasn't in any of the matches. Was
no.
He?
So
he was just around.
So I'm looking at this cage match now. Actually, let me. Apparently he did a run in DDT in 2019, which I've completely airbrushed out of my mind. But as far as Europe, he did PCW's Road to Glory in 2020. Lost to Daniel McCarvey in the first round, and then did other stuff for the rest of the weekend. But these were his first matches in Germany, and he was over like over.
Yeah. he was incredibly over, and again, it's kind of further proof of like Carat being an island itself. Somebody always ends up coming out of the weekend being the next big. I think Ninja Mike was almost been a better person to be in the alternate stuff than Ninja Mac in a way. Although he does do something crazy later on in the show, I think Crazy Mike would have definitely fitted that as good, if not better.
Well, hopefully it's next year. I mean, Smash Lads seem to be on all these Carat weekenders, so Psycho Mike for Carat 2023. Make it so, Tass. Last few matches, Eva Kolaski virtually squash over Gaia Glass. Eva's gone heel. She's jealous, would you say, after she lost the title?
She was certainly bruised.
Yeah, ego as well as physically. World Tag Team titles, Fast Time Mudo and Stephanie Mace finally made their first defense over Bobby Gunn's Michael Knight.
Nasty injury to Knight
it was
during
a
the
good
show.
match, ended early. They left from the video on demand, so I guess we can mention it. Super kick assisted pedigree, then the pedigree itself
Landed on his head, I think.
Yeah, it was almost like that. I forget the guy's name, but the one mid-90s WWE wasn't quite as versatile, but it was a nasty landing. The fact that Michael Knight was able to leave under his own power, it can only be a good sign, especially considering what happened last week with Big E. But yeah, I mean, match was stopped. Maybe it did the pin. Bit of weakness, but again, you knew what was going on. It wasn't like a complete screw up, and everyone was just looking at everybody, figuring out what was going on. And kayfabe wise, they can always run this one back, if and when the time comes. And main event said Tristan Archer over Fuminori Abe. A decent match, but again, I don't think too many people are expecting a title change there for obvious reason.
It would have been very shocking. I did say to who was sat with it, it would have been very funny for them to just change all of the titles again before the evening show. So people are turning up and RB's like champion and everything. It would have been very funny.
They should do that one year, genuinely. Just you've got to buy for lunchtime shows. Don't sleep this weekend, but
it was quite refreshing to have. All you need sometimes. You don't need a big elaborate storyline. You need somebody who's got a title and somebody says, "Joe, I want to have a go at that," and somebody say, "Joe, let's have that tournament.
So
let's have that match."
You've got something I want. I'll fight you for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you need. And again, the history books will show Archer with a win over Abe, so it will always look good in 10 years time.
Yep. So going to the final night, again, the sold-out crowd, 750 in the Turbinenhalle. Robert Dreisker over Lufisto in just under 6 minutes. They did a lot of match. I think a lot of the match was outside.
Yeah.
Again, I think this is probably the first one where you think Lufisto actually had, I would say a decent challenge, but it was a bit of an uphill battle for her, just given size difference. Jonathan Gresham over Shikahiro Irie in the other semi-final, and all I'll say is the fact that I was obviously there live and watching it back, and still feel gutted that Irie lost tells you how good wrestling can get you.
Yeah, Irie is almost like the he almost feels like the new Thatcher. I think in Oberhausen, he's incredibly popular. He's now brought Alfie Fresse into his vocabulary.
Always a good shot.
Irie is a bit of a shame for me because he came over just as the boom finished, effectively. And I think if he'd have been over in 2017, 2018, he would be the biggest star on the planet. I genuinely think he would be incredibly. He would be even more popular than he is now, and I really, really hope this is him sort of coming. He does come over a bit more often because he's a quality worker, and I think incredibly popular with both German and sort of British crowds. And I think that I can't think of anybody who is as popular as him at the moment in WXW.
No, in fact, he's only in for 1 or 2 weekends a year.
Yeah.
No. And again, I mean, if he comes back for Tag Festival, I don't think he's got a regular tag partner. I know he's freelance in Japan, so could be anyone. I know people talking about Abe and Takuya Nomura, the astronauts in All Japan, Big Japan.
Yeah,
In fact, Abe sold out of his merch by the start of night 2 says a lot. So bring a big suitcase, lads. But yeah, definitely, you've got the storyline built in. He went out in the semis, come back next year, make the finals. I'm not going to complain if he does.
No, for sure. I think he would. It would totally be a. In the same way, I think like if Speedball had won 2020, I think it would have been the same sort of popularity.
Yeah.
He feels like one of the WXW guys now.
So some non-tournament stuff. Baby Allison beat Ava Everett in a non-title match in 3 minutes. Again, 3 minutes. Allison showed a lot. We put over massively earlier on. But yeah, it's not just your, well, I'm the ex-champion, I want a shot from Eva Kolaski. You've now got two pretty decent challenges out there, at least challenge with decent shout of getting a match. I think Ava's over until April, so she's got a few more shows with WXW.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got a few challenges there, and it's not just, oh hey, well, this is the last show, he's the opponent. No, it's massively telegraphed, that kind of
They are selling the the Frankfurt show at the end of the month is quite a big one, so maybe they'll do a change there.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think they haven't run Hamburg at Frankfurt, I don't think, since the restart, have they?
It's at the batch cap, isn't it? So.
Now just looking at the lineups now, Erfurt, Papenburg, Via and Oberhausen, that's the ones they're pushing now.
Well, I think they're more likely to do the anything
Frankfurt second
of any...
yeah, that one they weren't.
Yeah.
So we can go back to what's in the future at the end. But so next up, Cowan Noir with Dennis Stolnig, 12 minutes. It was okay. I mean, we did some of the comedy stuff.
I have no memory of that match at all.
The only thing I can remember, and it depends on what your take on this, I'm going to use air quotes, some people call it the gay panic spot. When Carl creeps up and Stolnig pulled the mask off his trunks.
Yeah,
they did Abstand, keep a distance stuff, but it was fine for what it was. Finish, I think, was Cowan dead weighting himself and then Dolnick getting rolled up. Yeah, it was fine. I mean, it was Dolnick, being Dolnick. I'd say he's probably one of the MVPs for the weekend, just for different way. He was more than just for goof in all the matches. He could actually go. So next up, shotgun title, 4-way, Francis Caspin made this on the fly. Ninja Mac defending against Endakawa, Rotation and Maggot. And would you believe the guy with the incredibly catchy music won the title, Mike?
Yeah, and I think it was Dennis Birkendahl said in the immediate sort of, in the days afterwards, he said, Maggot is the most organically over wrestler and is probably the most over babyface in WXW since Ilya Dragunov. And yeah, I can kind of see that. I think he's just got everything right. He was always, I always thought he was a pretty good guy in the Pretty Bastards as well, but I think just the whole single run he's a changed man, and he's just done really, really well. And I think I think the music does help, as it always does. But it's definitely the right person to have that belt on out of anybody, really. Unless I think you can. I've always felt the shotgun title. He sort of does. He does do a lot of the shotgun champion does do a lot of the hard work for the rest of the card. It's always one that they can throw on a lot of the matches, and it kind of has to land every time. And it's always good for the imports to sort of have a go at that.
Yeah.
I think so. Like when Guns had it, when the Satoshis had it in the past, when it's been in the hands of other people and it's gone around the world, for example, it's always been a bit of a. It's always a good thing as a. It feels like it is a mid-card belt, but it's a very prestigious mid-card belt, I think, in the grand scheme of things, and it's certainly in good hands with Maggot, because he can really, really go.
He's come a long way from being, I remember years gone by, Shotgun Gold, when Jeremy Graves did the English commentary, and him dancing around with phrase "pretty bastards" to the point where I guess maybe it's a memo or something like that where he was just, you can swear that is their name. Yeah, I mean, just the last but one Carat, they did the whole thing of they won a contract and then they had it taken away from them because they were shit. I think some storyline, but some stuff's happened with Prince of Who since the comeback. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you had a guy who, again, for those who probably don't watch, probably roll their eyes at, maggots, he's pushed commodity, yet you had 700 people all clapping in time to his music. That's what a well-presented package does.
Yeah, for sure. It's. I think there will always be differing opinions on the whole music debacle in European wrestling in general, but that for me, that's proof of why music is as important as anything else in a company. So it helps people get over. It helps establish the character. It gives somebody to. I think if you used to show anybody an entrance of anybody this weekend, you'd show them Maggots because it's just so. It's a wild atmosphere when he comes out.
Yeah, it's almost like country music. I mean, again, we've always talked about the apocalypse and when the real music went, but the library that WXW and other companies have access to is pretty deep. I mean, if you've tried looking for any of the music, you'll see how much there is, and the fact that they've actually found stuff that is more than just the generic rock beat 101 kind of stuff that actually fits the couch, that actually sticks in your head, like Dennis Stolnick's music. The second you hear the opening beats, you know who it is. And by God, in a circle when the loop was so bloody long, you can't get off your head. But that kind of Baby Allison's music. That kind of stuff where it's just it's like the old. If you know from the first 2-3 seconds, the first bar or two, whose it is. Okay, it's the bedding in process. You need to figure out who it is, but you get out of anyone. And I think WXW will mention this at the end. Their whole production crew always goes the extra mile, and it works with stuff like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Last few matches then, Axel Tischer over Fuminori Abe. Axeman getting a win, back on the board, going back.
He did have a promo before the match where he basically said that he's going straight after that title again, and he said Lavagna was the only person who actually deserved that match who actually deserved a shot in that entire match.
Yeah. And I think the whole thing, I guess, for medium term, Tischer and Archer, because Tischer wasn't pinned, so you've got that natural thread. The wacky 6-man tag, it's always the tradition. Ace Romero, Igor Blanc, and Senza Volto represent Virar against House of Hungary and Peter Tahani. And I guess some people are expecting bigger names, but expecting this to be more balls to the wall. But I think this was, Salon Farrell saying this was back to the 2017s of the mid-match dance-offs and all that.
Yeah, I mean. It's not something I particularly like in my wrestling. A lot of people around me, but they did something. Very similar in 2016, didn't they? With Osprey and who was it with? Who was it? It wasn't Strickland, was it? No, Rich Swann, wasn't it?
Fuse looking about. Yeah. Rich Swann sounds familiar about they'd been in around about the same time. Count 2016. So day 3 was Trevor Lee and Woo Woo Guy against Mike Bailey and Osprey.
Whoever it was, it doesn't matter. So it was a quite a highly paced match, but it was, again, I wasn't something I particularly enjoyed. But it was in the same way that there's always a really high spot tag match in every Carat Sunday. That. This was the one that filled that position for this show.
It was an easy watch, but tea stuff. You had Tass doing with Dad dancing. You had Dover doing with I think stood right by me, looking grumpy, and then he's told toe time. It's like if it's your bag, you like it. If not, it's only 12 minutes. It's not the end of the world if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Tournament final, and this one 12:45 counter cage match. bit short than I would have thought, but again, no, the one thing I would say about this weekend, nothing outstayed its welcome. Jonathan Gresham over Robert Dreisker, so you've got another reason for Dreisker being grumpy old sods, not a grumpy sod, less about the old, but not being grumpy because he lost the Carat final. Gresham afterwards did that whole positivity speech. Be he support wrestling. The guys you're watching here, they need a green card to get to America. He didn't. Support your local, support your favourites and all that. And then Dreisker came out to attack him and Francis Caspin to make sure we didn't get rice pudding.
Yeah, it was a very downbeat ending to a show, really, to a Carat, really. But especially after you think they might have come out with a. But that being said, I think Gresham just holding the trophy high and that being the end of it would have been probably just as downbeat, because he was like, oh, okay. So there's something. I mean, Gresham obviously probably will be back at some point because he needs to get his title shot. But you do wonder where the. I think certainly that Dreisker's going to be doing more in the next 6 months in WXW than Gresham is. So it makes sense for him to for them to end on a sort of a horror ending, should we say?
Get a storyline out of it rather than be a self-contained tournament.
Yeah, for sure, and it exists. The tournament exists because Caranoa winning it, for example, he won it and then wasn't seen again until Catch Grand Prix. Yep. So obviously for obvious reasons, but it's not so much of us being on an island as maybe some previous tournaments have. The ending of that tournament now has consequences for the future.
Yep. And touch on obviously WXW, they finally have I'll say pretty decent schedule. They went one show a month because of different restrictions coming in, but just a quick scan through. They're in Frankfurt in about 2-3 weeks. Only 2 things announced so far: Archer and Tisha against Lavaniel and Yearn, and obviously shotgun title lottery with Maga defending his hometown. After that, Earth on April 3rd. Doesn't look like anything's been announced, just a few names. Hoppenberg on the 9th.
I mean, I think the general thing is that they're back to touring everywhere.
Yeah, via Orbit Traveling, which they did a sort of Carat qualification thing a couple of years back, remember right?
Yes.
It was that really weird. I mean, it's an airport convention centre, I think.
I think that's where Yearn got injured.
It may well be, yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that is where it was.
So Orbit Traveling, then obviously Dresden for True Colours at the end of May.
Leipzig,
and then I believe after that, Oberhausen, Broken Rules and some Real Wrestlings, Hamburg for the rescheduled Dead End, and then nothing until Tag Festival, which
they always go up to Shortcut, and then that's when they then announce the winner, the autumn tour.
Yeah, well, Shortcut's not in the schedule, but again, this obviously all subject to change.
Yeah, for sure.
The fact that apart from the June thing, there's no Oberhausen dates, kind of jumps out, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, I know in Germany restrictions were easing as we were there. They're apparently due to ease again starting next week as this gets released. So who knows? But yeah, back with a schedule which isn't full of dates being moved around. Can only be a positive thing coming out this weekend.
Yeah. I think sort of as a general whole overview of the weekend, it was very much a sort of it felt like a season beginning, really, didn't it? It's the start of the new season.
Those who've been watching the Empty Set stuff, it was kind of
the closing of that, and then it's the beginning of what's to come.
Yeah, they changed all the titles. That was pressing a big reset button, intentionally otherwise. But now they've set the stall out. You've got your champion who ground away during the close set era. You've got the new star with Maga that's being made.
Yeah.
the tag champions who should have had their reign but didn't now have them, and something coming up with the women's title as well. So I mean, the table's been set. The shows they've got in the next few weeks aren't going to be the usual, the house show. Well, we're just going to do the same matches. I mean, the fact that everything they do is being taped and released, they can't just do we're going to have the same matches every, on Saturday and Sunday. They have to be unique.
Yeah, unique, cards.
So, and again, that's kind of been WXW's strength. They have a core roster. They add local names from the side. So it's not going to be the same names in every shows, but at the same point, it is going to be all your favourites, and then maybe some might get the Glorious Brothers in for a weekend run. They might get I'd hope to have Peach Honey on most of these shows, but you never know. But yes, I guess we may as well mention this since talk about all the extra shows we're doing. The farewell they did at the end of the Sunday show. Katya Pill's leaving WXW. Leave a pretty big hole.
Yeah, so she's kind of been the head of production for as long as I've been going.
As Tommy said, there was again, my German isn't great, but the bits I understood, I overheard being translated nearby. She apparently had a hand in the creation of WXW now, which that's going back 2016, so.
Yeah, 2015, 2016.
My fandom, if you want to put it down to that, my fandom starts with WXW now being created. So, and I dare say a lot of people, whether they're still following or not, a lot of, especially folks in the UK, their fandom in the States and beyond, their fandom all starts with moving away or shifting away from the DVD model to actually having a VOD platform.
Yeah, and it's led the way in terms of you look at RPW on demand, you look at OTT on demand, Progress on demand. They are all a bit of a mess. There's a lot of crap on those. To be a bit short, there's a lot of crap on those things where they're like, American indie promotions which are on every single VOD. Whereas I think there's a bit of a quality filter really with WXW now. It works. The searching, the fact you can search for pretty much any show, they do unfortunately have to remove things on occasion. But there's been some incredible original content, some of the conversation stuff, which I think sadly some of that is going now.
As well, that was a really big favourite back when they had that.
Yeah, you had like the crazy game show Spieler Urbans. You had there's some really it's a really innovative platform. It's better than it's not just one of the basic is it pivot share, the one that a lot of them use. It's not just one of those.
The only thing I would say, and again I don't know what restrictions they have, because they're having to remove stuff, and I know if you go through the back end on Pivot Share, on Vimeo, you've got the list of all the videos that's actually on the service. It's about 1,300 now.
Yeah.
The only problem is for a lot of the videos that they've taken down, so like your Spielabends, some of the old like touring shows they used to have, the conversations, those are still up for like 15-second videos which literally say this title is no longer available, which is the biggest cock tease we've got on the platform for the moment. But I'm scrolling through now. We've got like Ambition from 2014 onwards. The CZW Big Japan World Triangle League still up there. The fact that they've got such a depth, and again, one thing I'll probably say from WXW's strength, and as we're recording, we're still towards the end of this, the turnaround. I mean, okay, it's loosened a little bit because of the pandemic. We're not running as many shows. We've got to let it stretch out. But in their heyday, that was it's a phenomenal, it's a monstrous turnaround. Like you would remember the 19th anniversary I went to before the world shut down. Like I was there on the Saturday, flew back home on Monday. The next day it was out on demand.
Well, I
And
mean, they did a near live thing for this tournament,
yeah,
so
that's
you could watch the first half of the show as the second half begun,
yeah.
which I don't think has been well. That's never been done before with WXW at least.
No.
So as close to being live as possible, really.
And I know back in the Flow Slam days, some Vitres did do live. I think OTT did live as well, but definitely in terms of the current era where I think obviously Eve does live on YouTube, but no commentary. GWF does live on YouTube with the donation stuff. But in terms of being a polished product, and I'm not saying any of those aren't, but the level that like the fact that the final cuts were actually put out were literally things like adding subtitles, with things like fixing errant camera switches, what have you. I've not spoken much to Kachi since, or Sherge, who thinks done some of the editing as well. But the fact that the difference between the near live and final products was one, patching in German commentary, two, fixing any hiccups where if wrong cameras cut to or what have you. I can only imagine the kind of stress levels of producing this live on your final big weekend in. It's a hell of an ask. But I think as well, it's just a sign of WXW and the entire crew doing what we've always said. They've gone the extra mile for their fan base. They've run the company as a business. I mean, again, this isn't knocking anyone, but they took the WWE money with big air quotes, but it's been invested. It's not just bigger video screens, but the TV production, quality cameras. In fact, that it was more than just the same three people, carrying the cameras all weekend and being absolutely knackered by the end of it. They're investing the money, and I think other people have said in the past, WXW outside of WWE and AEW is perhaps the best produced wrestling in the outside of Japan, I would say.
Well, yeah, for sure. I've kind of always, there's no discussion. I think, and especially during the sort of the 2017-2018 period, I genuinely believe it was the best company in the planet. I don't say that as hyperbole either. I in terms of work rate, in terms of show quality, in terms of character work, in terms of just in general, there wasn't anybody who did it better. I think in that period, and I think WXW now, WXW in this current era, not WXW now. I think it is sort of, at least from a working perspective, it is. I think we're about 2000. I feel like we're back in 2014 sort of era, but we're in 2014 era with the advantage of all of the wonderful things that has been built up in the time since. So I don't think it's going to be long before WXW is kind of at the forefront again. And I think to say with the people who've sort of been brought in, the fact that the pedal's been laid off a bit by the American promotions in Europe as well, I think there's a wonderful base for something very, very special again.
And I think as well, you've had people who maybe have checked out for obvious reasons during the empty set stuff. Never been a better time than now to get back on board, especially with the schedule coming up. And if all the restrictions are going as they seem to be, get yourself over back to Oberhausen in October for Tag Festival, and hope to see a lot more familiar faces over there.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all missed everybody who didn't come. It did feel a bit like two absent friends on occasions. But it was. I was prepared. I'll be completely honest. I was very prepared to go to Carat this year, and it be the last time I go there. In the sense of, if it wasn't the same, because I think we left 2020 under a bit of a cloud. Let's be real. Yeah. The encroachment of many things from the WWE, especially for myself, made me leave Oberhausen under a bit of a cloud. But I think, and I was fully prepared for it to be the last time I go there. But now I couldn't imagine not going. It would be I'm back to the point where I'm looking at my holiday calendar and saying, right, can I get to Obertraubling? You know, it's yeah, I'm fully back in with it now, and you know, it's there's get back on board for sure. There's no other thing to say really.
It's we'll say the good days are back, but the groundwork's there, and like I said, we sang a praise of the Hungarian scene, and if Twixby keeps that tie-up going, Germany in particular, Twixby could be easily on fire again, not next year or two. But say thanks for joining, Mike. Went way longer than we planned.
Yeah, I do apologise. I've been suffering with a bit of a cold, so I do apologise if I sound terrible.
Anything to plug before we wrap up?
Not really wrestling wise, but I do a thing on when I get it on YouTube called The Groundhoppers Guide with me and former wrestling journo Arnold Furious. We do a thing where we go around football matches, we review the grounds. That's something that you might like if you like me. But apart from that, you just follow me on Twitter at Mike Kilby, and everything else I'm at Mike Kilby. Eurograps.com, not so much going on there at the moment, but it's on there. You can read all the old reviews, and every now and again I chuck something on there, so it's a good site.
We'll also have the Groundhoppers YouTube stuff linked in the podcast description. Of course, all reviews of all this, BackBodyDrop.com, plenty on there, and like I say, hopefully make this a bit more frequent than every Carat, and not 2 years for the next one.
Yeah, that would be nice, I think, yeah.
Thanks so much for joining, Mike, and we'll see you all down the road.
Cheers, see ya.